Hello guys, welcome back to Pause and welcome back to another Spotlight video looking at Planet Zoo. So today we are taking a little look at a brand new article that was released in the June 2019 edition of PC Gamer. So before we get into anything in this episode, I do recommend going out and picking up a copy of this edition, whether you get that digitally or in store. I highly recommend it. I will be showing a few bits from this article today, including photos and also reading out a few little bits. I won't be going through every single detail, so I strongly recommend you go out and buy this new copy of PC Gamer. There isn't too much new information, but there are a few interesting tidbits that we can take from this article. There are no new screenshots, unfortunately. I will show you the screenshots that they have used in the article as we talk through. So we'll start by talking about the team behind the game. So some of the developers behind Planet Zoo, who I mentioned or do give quotes during this article. Johnny Watts is the CCO of Frontier. So he oversees basically all of Frontier's games, and one bit of information that has been gleaned from this article, he does actually hold a zoological degree, so he has a special interest in Planet Zoo, so it kind of gives you a bit of backstory probably of why he pushed so much to get this game in development. Next up we've got Piers Jackson. He is the game director, and he's basically in charge of the overall vision of Planet Zoo. Next up we've got Chris Marsh, who is the lead animator. So Chris and his team will be working to make sure these animals are as realistic as possible. Then next up we've got Liesa Boarens, which I think is how it's pronounced, apologies if not, who is a senior artist. So she and her team will be working on, again, making sure the assets and enclosures and animals and all the kind of stuff is really got that attention to detail that you expect from Frontier. And then you've got Jim Croft, who is the head of audio, so working with the lead audio designer Matthew. Croft is involved in all the aspects of sound design in Planet Zoo, from the general ambience to the calls and movement sounds to the animals themselves. So as I've just mentioned, there are quite a lot of quotes and interviews from those people who I've just mentioned, the main key members of the development team, throughout this article, so it's well worth reading through to hear about some of their real life experiences and also a little bit of past information about them and seeing what they can bring to this amazing looking game. So we'll firstly start, like I said, with Johnny Watts, who does hold a zoological degree. So he's got a lot of history with animals and zoos, and you can definitely see his passion through the words and through the interview when he spoke about things here. And he's really passionate about speaking to zookeepers, and they've been to a lot of zoos around the world, they say, to sort of watch and take in everything to replicate that in the game. Piers Jackson as well talks about this, and he talks about animal husbandry and all the conservation efforts that are going on around the world, including all the research, and that's a lot of that inspiration they've taken from real life zoos, and they are inputting that into this game. So previously, Johnny Watts has worked on other zoo games and also Tycoon games, as we know. He's worked on Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 and Zoo Tycoon, so it's natural progression to bring animals into the Planet franchise. He has explicitly mentioned that they did think about just putting animals into Planet Coaster, but they needed to do a lot of back-end sort of changes to make it work in terms of the UI and the terrain and just the general campaign aspect of having a zoo. So that's why they decided to make it a fully fledged game. So they do talk about the fact that this game is going to be more of a laid-back version of Planet Coaster. Planet Coaster is very sort of in your face, it's massive, everything's huge, and it's very loud and brash. But they have said, obviously, Planet Zoo, naturally, as zoos are in the real world, a lot more down to earth, a lot more slower paced, and a bit more relaxing experience, and that's going to flow through with this game as well, while always keeping that key to make sure Planet Zoo abides by the principles of the Planet franchise set out by Planet Coaster. So they've also talked about all the different experiences that they've had over the years. One of the team members actually followed an elephant through its full life cycle and did obviously note how distressing it was when it died, but it was a really cool moment, a real bond that the team could work with to get in the mindset of these animals, and then to be able to input that into the characteristics, the animations and the general AI is coming together to make something that they're all really invested in. The good parallel that they use here is with Planet Coaster. Say when you move the camera underneath a ride in Planet Coaster, you see all the ride workings and mechanisms. We're taking that same approach to the creation of the animals in Planet Zoo. We want to go the extra mile to achieve a high level of fidelity at Frontier, and this is no different. We think Planet Zoo players will appreciate it. So they are obviously taking that attention to detail that we know and expect and inputting that into this new game. So they have took trips to several zoos and collected a lot of their own reference material. They have said that they wanted to know how they feel when they're in a habitat and how the animals feel existing together as a family. They say they want these to be realistic, the most realistic animals ever made in a game, from down to the little details like the nose and ear twitches, and also all the sounds, which I'll get onto in a moment, to really make this seem very believable as a real life zoo that you're creating. While also being pretty nice to look at and listen to, you really do have to think about the welfare of the animals as well, and ensure you've got the enrichment items there present to fight off boredom, ensuring the right food is given, research the animals and prevent them from getting any diseases. They do touch on the fact that, like any tycoon game, you want to allow people to do stuff wrong, so you can set up habitats wrong in this game and sort of deal with those kind of consequences. So you can pretty much do whatever you like, but you will obviously be rewarded for doing things well and punished for doing things against the research and against what the animals require. So enrichment items will include scratching posts, which ideally you want to place near windows to give guests a massive satisfaction boost when a lion starts crawling at it. Footballs you can give to the elephants, knock them around, but if you want to protect animals' privacy, you can spend a little more money on one-way glass. So these are all the items that which you have the option to use. You're not tied to it, but if you want to spend a bit more for one-way glass, then the animals will be a lot happier. So it's all about spending the money, doing the research and finding the best pieces for your enclosures. So it does mention that attention to detail that we've already touched on, down to the individual stripes on a zebra, which are going to be different. And then we do mention all the animals that have been confirmed so far. So we did do a specific video on this, so a lot of the ones we mentioned have been confirmed again in this article. So quite an interesting note that we've not seen mentioned anywhere else is scars and wounds. So if animals fight with each other, they will develop scars, wounds, which will remain with them for the rest of their life. Again, little details like that set all the animals apart and give them their own individual personalities. So one gameplay aspect that has been mentioned in this is how are you going to know when the animals are sick or ill or need something. So this is something that they're going to work into the animation of the animals itself. So an example of this, they are saying when an animal is sick, its body language will indicate this and change. Its head will droop and its walk cycle will be more laboured. So the games are designed this way so you can pick up things without relying on a sort of heads-up display. They said players will even get to know what a particular animal call will mean, which will immediately identify that a specific creature is in distress. So it's not just going to be looking around the animals, you're also going to have to listen to the individual calls to know that there is a specific animal in trouble. Then it's your job to then fix that. They have said they've put a lot of work into foliage, and the planting of a tree is a really important aspect to a habitat creation, which gives the game a realistic and organic feel. They have said that players can still make outlandish things if they want to. They'll still have the piece by piece building set and a whole new set of elements for people to create with, but it's just a little bit more laid back and a bit more realistic than the approach that they've set up for Planet Coaster. So there's a little section here which is like a 5-step process to building a successful zoo. They've got, for number 1, using the landscaping tool, you can place grass, sand, rocks and other types of terrain in habitats, but you can't just do what looks nice, you have to consider what kind of environment each animal likes. Number 2, paths are important because not only do your guests need to actually see your animals, but the keepers need a clear, efficient route between the habitats to keep them clean and the animals fed. Number 3, you'll need other forms of entertainment to keep your guests happy, including places for them to spend money, restaurants, gift shops and so on. Better make sure you have plenty of toilets too. Number 4, this water is filthy, which means you either don't have a nearby water purification or it's broken down. While some animals don't mind dirty water, your guests won't be able to see them swimming inside it. And number 5, you can build a railway and a tiny steam train to carry visitors around your zoo. This is quicker than walking, but also provides a happiness boost because, well, who doesn't enjoy riding on a tiny train? So that is the little 5-step process that they've put into this article to sort of just finish off the main bulk of this information. And the last little thing we're going to talk about is a little bit on feedback. So they have mentioned that, as with their other games like Elite Dangerous and Planet Coaster, they are going to take on the players' opinions very strongly on this and listen to the stuff and listen to the players to know what things to put in this game and also any changes that they need to make. So the guys who have written this article at PC Gamer have seen a lot of this stuff live. They've seen a working demo of this game. They've watched real gameplay of this. Their takeaway is that what impressed them the most was the animal tech, both the AI and the animation. They really do feel alive, and there was something relaxing about hovering over a habitat and watching them go about their business, swimming, eating, socialising, and occasionally pooing. There's a lot in the game. I've only seen little glimpses of it, including glass enclosures that you can house snakes, reptiles and insects in, and if previous Frontier games are anything to go by, you can expect new features to be added long after its initial release. So that is just the little summary at the end of the article. Like I mentioned, it is well worth having a read through, seeing all the pictures and seeing all of this together as one thing. So please do go out and pick up this June 2019 edition of PC Gamer to read the entire article. Obviously I can't put it all into this video, as I'm sure I'll get sued by somebody if I did that, but this is just a general summary of a few little takeaways here and there from the article today. So I hope you've enjoyed it, guys. If you have, don't forget to give us a like down below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, set up to date with all of the content. There'll be plenty of Planet Zoo stuff coming over the next couple of weeks, right up until launch at the end of the year. So if you fancy a chat, head over to Twitter or Discord. And if you want to help us out, you can do that by going to our Patreon page. All the links are down below in the description. But for now, guys, thank you ever so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Cheers, bye.